Indiana, look at me. Give me.
3-year-old Indiana is in intensive therapy.
Look at me. Look at me.
It's a daily struggle for his parents to simply reach their son, who they've lost to autism.
Look at me.
He's just sits there, or spins around, and just not communicating at all, like a zombie.
Look at me.
The difference is startling. Fleur and Grant Hume say this home video of their son shows a bubbly toddler developing normally.
Oh, he was just the most interactive little boy.
He was so playful. He was always just running around, running up to you, hugging you. And we thought he was actually developing early because his speech really started coming on really quickly. And we thought, oh yeah, we've got a genius on our hands.
Touch tummy.
Just after his first birthday, Indiana changed, withdrawing completely.
It's pretty heart-wrenching as a parent to see that. You look at your child and you think, where's my little happy boy gone? Where's he gone?
So what happened?
Within 2 weeks of the MMR injection, he had such a profound change of his personality.
Language loss. His speech really dropped off.
Yeah.
Look at me. Come here.
Indiana is not alone.
If you believe the MMR vaccine contributed to cause your child's autism, please stand up and raise your hand.
There are thousands of parents who are all saying the same thing, that the triple antigen, MMR, is to blame for their children's autism.
In 1995, 96, I started getting calls from parents who said my child was developing perfectly normally, and then they had their MMR vaccine in many cases, and then they just disappeared.
British gastroenterologist Dr. Andrew Wakefield believes he's found a link between the vaccine and autism. 3 years ago, he published his findings in the British medical journal The Lancet after studying 12 children whose parents saw a severe reaction following the routine inoculation.
These parents were not anti-vaccine. They'd taken their children along to be vaccinated. They were like you and me. They were highly articulate, professional individuals, many of them, who had merely followed the rules, but had observed these dramatic changes in their children.
Both Terry and his older brother Michael have been diagnosed with high-functioning autism.
No, darling, we're not making it up. No, we're not making it dark, Michael. No, wait.
Their parents, Isabel and Ian Thomas, haven't had a good sleep in a long time. It's like this day and night.
Sit down to eat. Michael.
But again, their parents say, as toddlers, they were developing normally.
Terry was walking when he was 10 months old, and Michael was talking fluently at the age of 2.
What happened to your boys?
We lost them. We lost our boys, and we were given 2 boys, the same outward body, but inside different. And that was after we had them vaccinated.
Teddy!
You realise it's almost 10 o'clock at night?
As the boys' condition worsened, their parents noticed something else unusual. Both Terry and Michael were suffering bouts of excruciating bowel pain. For Dr. Wakefield, this was the link.
Our feeling is that the inflamed bowel is allowing toxins from the gut to get through into the bloodstream, into the brain, and maybe damaging the developing brain.
You're saying this infection comes from the MMR vaccination?
That is the hypothesis that we're testing based upon the coherence of the parent's story.
Dr. Wakefield's got some theories, but absolutely no findings. What he found was that a series of children with autism, the parents said it happened about the time that they had MMR vaccine. That's not a finding, that's a theory.
Professor David Isaacs is a specialist in infectious diseases at the Children's Hospital at Westmead in Sydney.
has always been cold.
If you're a parent, this is important.
He's a vehement supporter of the MMR vaccine and the campaign, which sees every child in Australia given the combined measles, mumps and rubella shot when they turn 1.
The MMR vaccine is like all our other vaccines. It has some side effects, but basically it's an extremely safe vaccine.
Can you categorically say there is no link between MMR and autism?
I can tell you, Tara, that all the studies that have been done show no link.
Have you proved the link between MMR vaccine and autism?
No, absolutely not. One could, scientifically, it would be very, very naive and disingenuous to say that we had. What we are doing, and what we have been doing for many years now, is putting together pieces of a jigsaw.
Dr. David Salisbury, a senior official with the British Health Department, dismisses the Wakefield theory as bad medicine.
His studies have been examined over and over by independent experts, and each time they have found that the studies simply do not convey the conclusions that Dr. Wakefield attaches to them.
Now, the fundamental rule of clinical medicine is that you listen to the patient or the patient's parents. And so when they say to me, I think this was MMR, do we take that seriously or not? Damn right we do. We take it very seriously and we investigate it. And we do not dismiss it as coincidence without thorough investigation.
That's exactly what parents like the Thomases are demanding, a fuller investigation of their children before their claims are dismissed.
You have no doubt what caused this?
No doubt at all. 100% certain it was the MMR.
The reason this is such a serious and troubling debate is because measles is a truly deadly disease. In countries without proper vaccinations, it kills more than 1 million children every year. In fact, to avoid a measles epidemic, more than 90% of the community needs to be immunised. But since Dr. Wakefield's theories hit the headlines here 3 years ago, thousands of British families have decided to take that risk. Across the country, vaccinations are down to an alarming 88%, and that has the Health Department very worried.
If an epidemic is realised here, what is the worst case scenario?
That children will die.
Do you lay the responsibility for that potential at Dr. Wakefield's feet?
Nobody but Dr. Wakefield has been saying that MMR is the cause of these bowel conditions and autism.
Do you accept that if there is a drop in immunisation, there will be deaths from measles?
If measles returns, yes, there will be deaths from measles.
You're prepared to take that risk, to talk about a lot of ifs, even if that ultimately leads to deaths?
Yes, it would be a tragedy, clearly, if children were to die from resurgence of these infections, because the option of safer vaccinations were not put in place by the regulatory authorities. You're going to eat them all.
As a father of 4, Andrew Wakefield isn't anti-vaccination, just anti-MMR. He won't give his children the triple dose because he believes it's the combination in the MMR that causes the problem. He's now urging the health authorities to offer single doses of the 3 vaccines as a safer option.
What we're suggesting is that if you use the single vaccines, you space them over time to separate the exposures, and therefore if it's the combined exposure that it's a risk, then you can prevent this potential and disastrous consequence of regressive autism.
Now, Dr. Wakefield said the vaccines should be separated and given a year apart. You give one, then you wait a year, then you give another, wait a year, and give the third. Now, during those years, children are at risk of catching those diseases. So we're chasing moonbeams. You put children at risk by doing it, and the best way to protect children is to give them MMR.
Measles can be a very nasty illness. I mean, apart from children dying from measles, they can get pneumonia, have to go onto a respirator.
Dr. Isaacs is also solely committed to MMR. He's seen what measles can do to young children.
Is there any chance that single doses will be offered in this country?
It's highly unlikely, Tara. Basically, it would be a very mixed scientific message if we were to say it's safe, but we'll give you single-dose vaccines just in case. that would be confusing to parents. We are saying MMR vaccine is safe, and it's much safer than getting measles, mumps or rubella.
There's no doubt, since the introduction of MMR in Australia in 1989, measles has been all but stamped out. But it's also true that since then, autism has been on the rise. But most doctors believe it's simply coincidence.
More children are being diagnosed with autism who would not previously have been labelled as having autism. It's a diagnostic labelling problem.
But try telling that to Fleur and Grant Hume. They're now living with an enormous cost. The loss of their son and so far $40,000 in therapy to try to bring him back. And while no one can tell them what causes autism, they feel most of the medical profession won't listen to them either.
They didn't seem to mind that my son was now the walking dead. You know, to me, he was dead. And they seemed to, I don't know, it just seemed like it was a reasonable price to pay for the good of society.
These parents, desperate parents of these tragic children, are looking for an answer, and they blame MMR vaccine. If you had a child with this awful condition, autism, you would be looking for reasons for it. All parents are looking for reasons for it, and MMR vaccine has been brought up as a scapegoat, in my view.
Would you ever consider that you're blaming the wrong thing?
I'd like them to show me that MMR didn't cause my son's autism. All right, I've got plenty of evidence right in front of my eyes saying that yes, it was the MMR, but so far no one has been able to show me that it doesn't work that way.
Look at me. Look at me.
Britain's Medical Research Council and the Centres for Disease Control in the United States are now conducting further studies into any possible link between MMR and autism. Meanwhile, Australian health authorities are strongly urging all parents to continue vaccinating their children. Hello, I'm Tara Brown. Thanks for watching. To keep up with the latest from 60 Minutes Australia, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can also download the 9Now app for full episodes and other exclusive 60 Minutes content.